I was really helpless to do anything about it. I was caught in something bigger than me, and I ought to just face up to it. And it really scared me. That was the first time I was really, really scared. Because I realized that in spite of all my protestations, in spite of all my swearing oaths and so on, I was not in control. And I think, you see, that was a healing moment for me to admit to myself that I was out of control. Now later when I got into AA, I recognized that's step one, to admit that you're not in control and relinquish to another higher power. It wasn't too long after that I had a dream where I was feeling very bad, very low, nobody loves me, I'm not worth anything, and so on. And then out of the sky, this glowing bird comes flying down and swoops right into my chest, and I give it a big hug, and it's nestling against me, and I'm feeling, oh, somebody loves me, and I start crying, and I wake up, and I'm still crying, and I'm just feeling really relieved, really good, because someone does care about me, and I go and seek therapy. A few months later, I found myself in the liquor store getting ready to make my purchase for that night when something stopped me. And it wasn't voluntary, it wasn't anything conscious, but somehow I knew that drinking wasn't an option for me anymore. I needed to go on in life. And if I were going to be drinking, then there's stuff I wasn't going to be able to do, and so it just wasn't an option. And I put my hand down and I walked out of the liquor store. I didn't quite understand what was happening. I felt a little sad. What was I going to do that night without my booze? But I got through the night, and as it turned out, I never drank again. Started going to AA, recognized that I did have the alcoholic pattern. And one of the things that was really an eye-opener for me, going to one of those meetings, was to see that a lot of the things that I had felt guilty about, the hangovers, the saying one thing and doing another, acting up, feeling amnesic, a number of different things, other people had the same stuff. That what I was experiencing wasn't so much an expression of my personality, it was an expression of the alcoholic syndrome. And I remember thinking at that time, I've been feeling guilty for going around in a circle, spinning around and around and around, very confused. But now I see I was in a whirlpool, and if you're in a whirlpool, you're going to spin around. And it's not your fault, it's the whirlpool that's spinning you around. If you'll get out of the whirlpool, you won't spin around anymore. And I was in that alcoholic pattern. A year or two down the road from that, my dream research has really progressed now. I'm starting to do some interesting experiments. One in particular is based on some of the dreams that I had had. I was setting up a healing dream tent where a person would spend the night in a tent out in the woods to have a dream that might help them about a problem. I worked out a ritual for it based what I thought was on some study of the anthropological literature on vision quests and so on. That I would have a person pretend that the tent was a sacred sanctuary and go through a role-playing enactment where they would meet a healing person and have an encounter with that person. And then as they were having that encounter, prepare for bed and invite the spirit of that wisdom and that healing to come into their dreams that night. And then I was thinking about that. I had the tent up. I was getting ready to go now and announce that it was here. I was like open for business, you might say. When all of a sudden I got this tremendous pang of no confidence in myself, self-doubt. And I have no business doing this. I don't know if it'll work. And then out of the blue, I remembered this joke from when I was a kid. And the joke was about this man, and remember this is a kid's joke, so it takes a kid's kind of an appreciation. But there was this man who had this disease. And his body was covered with scabs. And he'd peel these scabs off and put them in a bag. And underneath the scabs were pus. And he'd drain the pus into a jar. And he kept this jar of pus and these scabs in his closet. Well, one day, this guy came to visit him. And for some reason, the guy was snooping around and went into the closet, where he got locked in that closet, and he was left there for 3 days. Then the old man, there was time for him to work on himself again, and he opened up the closet. And this man came stumbling out, saying, "Oh my goodness, thank God for those potato chips and mayonnaise, or I would have starved." I went, "Ooh." But then I realized, there's my dream. There's the meaning of the dream. Spontaneously and out of the blue, this memory of this childhood joke reveals the meaning of the dream. In the dream, I look down there, the old man saying he puts the wine there so as to feed the guy. What's he feeding him? Potato chips and mayonnaise. And I'm saying, what kind of food is that? Well, and in the years since I'd had that dream, I had studied at the Jung Institute. I understood about the homeopathic principle, and I realized now with the aid of that joke, the homeopathic reference in the dream. And what was the dream saying? The dream was saying is that the old man was saying, I am going to feed this man his illness so that it will heal him and give him some strength. What was the strength? Well, when I started out, and why was I drinking? Because I was a control freak. Most alcoholics are after power, feeling very insecure, wanting something to buttress and support a very weak ego, feeling very alienated from life, wanting some kind of extra something. Always being on go, super achieving and so on. The alcohol is a soother. The alcohol relaxes. The alcohol gives you some feelings that everything's okay. Meanwhile, it could then soothe me while I was pushing forward on a 100% achievement power trip to try to get ahead in the world. Having to be brought to my knees through the alcoholism, though, taught me that there's more to life than being in control. The alcohol taught me about the existence of a higher power. The alcoholism taught me about the idea of being open to the spirit. I had changed my viewpoint as a result of dealing with the alcoholism. From wanting, the image that I used to use was that while I was an alcoholic, my favorite thing would have been to have had a speedboat with a huge motor on the back of it so I could go as fast as I wanted to. Once I was into recovery and recognized the importance or the existence even of spirit, I would now trade my powerboat for a sailboat in which I would have my sail to take care of and my oar to hold on to, but I would rely more on the wind to blow my sail, the wind being a representative of the spirit. So the alcoholism, supposedly a bad thing, was actually for me an initiation. It was a way of bringing me into a realization, a discovery, that there was such a thing as spirit. Without it, who knows what would have happened to me? I probably would have ended up being a one-sided individual, a one-dimensional person whose only thing in life was just to achieve, just to get ahead. I would have not been in touch with my feelings at all.